in order for you to learn and other people to take you on, you got to show them that vulnerability piece that either you learn from or you have other people follow, because that's the relation piece, right? The related piece that, oh my gosh, they're in the same boat. How can we figure this out together? And so vulnerability is another piece of leadership that one always seems to never talk about.
Henry Munez, welcome to the Let's Grab Coffee podcast. It's great to finally have you here. And of course, before we get into it, we have to cheers to some good coffee.
Ooh, before cheers,
What's that?
I'd like to properly do cheers with something I brought to you.
Okay.
If you don't mind just opening a couple things up, that would be great.
I like this. I don't think we've
Especially being at BMO.
Okay. Yes. We would definitely appreciate this. Oh my God, I love this. I don't think we've ever had this on on the Let's Grab Coffee podcast.
It is.
Yes.
But we got to take it out. We got to take it out.
That's amazing. Well, cheers.
How about this?
How are you doing? All right.
Cheers.
Love it. Thank you very much. Today, you're known as the vice chair of BMO U.S. You're an avid Chicagoan. You've been in Chicago for a very long time. Went to undergrad at University of Illinois.
ILL.
People know you.
I.
And people know you obviously for many sort of hats in the ecosystem. You serve on several boards. You're a member of the Economic Club of Chicago. You're really involved in the community. And this is why, obviously, as someone who's been in Chicago for almost 8 years, I know when we first connected, I was like, one, serve as an inspiration, and two, it's sort of a figure that I'd love to share more of and just sort of unpack your story. And before we get into career, titles, accolades, I kind of want you to take us back to day one, Henry Munez, the upbringing, the inception story, chapter one. What did that look like for you?
Well, before we get there, I'm really excited to be here. I was just asked before I arrived if this is my first podcast. Have I done many of these podcasts? This is my first. And I actually was talking to my wife this morning going, all right, give me some examples of podcasts. I don't like to put myself out there that much. It's just part of my upbringing as well. Mm-hmm. And so she goes, well, is it going to be funny? Is it going to be historical? Is it going to be Conan O'Brien? So are you a little Conan O'Brien like?
I'll throw in some jokes. Or
Jason Bateman and his couple of buddies. So we're going to have a lot of fun with this.
Love it.
Especially with my first experience. So hopefully you'll make it smooth and easy for me.
We'll make it good.
Well, my upbringing is really, really who I am today. It's formed how I think. It's formed the values. And it comes from my mom. And my dad. Very fortunate to still have both of them with us. When it comes to my mom, she has great style. She's a social person.
Well, you get it from somewhere.
Thanks. I think I got it from my mom. She likes expensive things. And more importantly, she was grounded, being truly Catholic, religious. She goes to church every day, does the rosary. And so faith is very important to her. On my dad's, it was about hard work. It was about providing for the family. And it was about helping others. And so if I could combine those two great things about my parents, I'm kind of a representation of who they are. A lot of great stuff and a lot of mannerisms and or stuff that you take away and you pass on, that you improve, you find ways to evolve and get better, but it's about trying to get better each day and also bring other people along you to lift them up as well. And so that's who I am today. And if I take a look at, this is not their words, but if I take a look at my 4 F's of my principles of living, it's rooted in my mom and dad, and that's family first. I guess that's 2 F's right there, but family, faith, foundation. And then the toughest part that we always have in any type of relationship, and with yourself a lot of times too, is forgiveness. And so, as you could tell, I look back and I'm grateful and blessed to be part of a traditional family. My dad did the work and my mom was at home and raising us. My dad was always there every night, but it taught us to be thankful. And so, and to pass it on. And that's what I do, hopefully, day in and day out.
You're starting off strong, Henry. I'm like, this is hitting at the heartstrings at the moment. No, I resonate a
Well,
lot.
yeah, I
I
mean,
resonate a lot, especially having immigrant parents. And I was going to ask, did they grow up in the U.S. or was there sort of an immigrant story coming into the U.S.?
hey, my story's not any different than yours or other first generation
Mm.
born Americans. I was born in Chicago. My mom moved here from the Philippines in, call it, the 1960s. My dad in the late 60s, and they actually met here in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
My mom was a nurse working at Garfield Park at the community hospital. And my dad was doing moonlight duty to earn some extra money at Garfield Hospital while he was training at Cook County. For those that remember Cook County, it was the training ground for doctors and everything that you could see, kind of related to The Pit,
Yeah,
the series The
great
Pit. I don't
show.
know if you're,
Oh, yeah.
if we just finished
Yeah.
the last
A
episode.
lot of anxiety though before bed,
Yeah,
but
I mean, not a lot of sleep, right? A lot of learning, a lot of challenges, but getting through it. It was the best training ground in the United States, but didn't get paid. And so I love to say that my life started when my dad met my mom at Garfield Park. I was born in Humboldt Park. I was raised in Highland Park. I went to school at University of Illinois and lived off of Washington Park. I met my wife in Lincoln Park, and I've been living and raised my two young adult boys now in Wicker Park for nearly 30 years. So
You really
parks are
like to
very
stay close to the
important
parks.
yeah, parks are very important.
It's hilarious. Yeah, that's you got to give a lot of love and admiration to parents, of course, for taking that journey, and really having that entrepreneurial DNA. Because even when I think back to my parents and looking at our situation today, to be honest, I don't think I would have made the shift that they did from the Middle East to Canada, give up everything, leave family behind, start a new language, new work. It's a lot for parents to take on, and it's nice that you also, in reflecting, on these questions, is it's always nice to see that you're giving them their love and their props.
Well, and we got to give them the respect and honor that's due to them as well as other people that have come before them, right? It's not easy, like you said. In the Philippines, English was the second language. You had Tagalog as the national language, all the different dialects, but English was basically the secondary. So it was easier, I think, for my parents than other maybe cultures that move here. And so that was a positive thing. Second, we all come to, at least my parents would tell the story, and I truly still believe it today. You might have traveled different roads to get here to America, but one thing that's been consistent is the American dream. The American dream that is still out there for people that see it from the outside, that want to be a part of it. It comes true. And I am kind of the result of what my parents' American dream still is today. And I hopefully continue to pass it on to my boys, to others, to realize the opportunities that are out there that make this country fantastic. And that's another reason why I think I'm put here, is to make America the best it can be, not just for myself, but for a lot of other people too.
Yeah, I love that. Let me, before we segue to the career, I did want to ask, as an American with Filipino roots, and you already touched on a few of those personality traits. And it's funny, I kind of told you when we first met, I grew up with many Filipino friends.
No, that's right. You told me this. That's right.
And man, I got to tell you, I swear to you, this is no exaggeration. All the Filipino friends that I have in my life and that I've had the privilege of meeting always brought the best energy, endless enthusiasm, optimism, a lot of resilience and hard work, family virtues. Like they're super close, and family meaning it's all encompassing. Family, friends, like loyalty and to their tribe and community is something that's very important. And of course, there's all the dancing, the singing, that's always the food, right?
Yeah, right.
From all those, and you talked about faith, which I appreciated as well, because I think especially in the business community, that's often missed or maybe not as talked about, where folks maybe aren't open enough about their ideologies. Curious for you from the Filipino roots, the DNA, what do you actually take, and maybe it is from your parents, that you actually instill within yourself, both as a person, as a professional?
Well, first of all, there is, coming here, again, being first generation born, there is that conflict of keeping parenting, right? Keeping your ethnicity, keeping where you came from, being Filipino, and part Chinese as well on my dad's side. But really, how do you get established here? My parents really wanted to be 100% American, and I am 100% American. Like you said earlier, I'm Chicagoan, but those influence of my ethnicity is very, very strong and influential in how I go about things. And I'll give you some great examples. Is I look different from what a typical or stereotypical view of what an American should look like. But with those Filipino roots and making sure that, my parents said, "No, you're 100% American. I want you to speak English, right? Properly. I want you to learn that education is very big. I don't want you to have the same accent like that." And it's in a way, that's okay, right? But in a way, that duality piece that kind of irks at me too is we're a country that has so many different cultures and languages and people, and one having an accent shouldn't matter, but it does. Even like here, the South, right? South side, North side, even just Chicago, there's a different play. But how you present yourself is very, very important. But how you are aware of how you fit in that picture is important, and how you relate to others is very important. And so I was given a lot of different things in terms of what I needed to do for the family. Your family duties are probably the same thing, right? I mean, just because of the family, there was no questioning. You just did it, right? And so those duties, those chores you did, and you didn't really have a say in it. But what made, I think, my parents a little different was they gave me the American choice to do other things and to explore versus very, very much like stay in your lane or stay closed. And that openness to explore different things was probably a differentiating point of how do you transition to, from being an immigrant to the fourth generation born and then being in a culture to live that American dream, right? But how do you be successful at doing it? And so some of these examples are we were always put in different situations to set ourselves apart because of those differences, but to adapt, to be agile, to learn and be aware of those situational differences or environments. And a great example of that is one of the things I needed to do was pick up a musical instrument. I mean, a lot of Asians are known for musical instruments and the parents pushing it and the competition, but it really made me learn to compete, to work hard, right? To use the brain a little differently and look at my artistic way of things. I didn't like to do it. It wasn't my passion, but it was something that I needed to do because my parents told me I should do it. Other things was my parents moved from Northbrook to Highland Park, which are suburbs of Chicago. And, a lot of it was, the American dream, bigger house, bigger family. But my parents moved into an all-white, all-Jewish neighborhood, which was great, right? And understanding that different color, different religion, feeling comfortable who we are, but learning from other people. My best friend, I went to a lot of bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs, right? And on the flip side too, my dad loved pulling out the Christmas tree lights and the Santa Claus and the reindeer to show and be proud of, our faith. And so it kind of makes me laugh sometimes that it's like that Christmas Vacation, Chevy Chase type of thing, with my family being different, but being, accepted in a community because of just a common theme of family, right? And living together. So that was exciting. Other things that they did to me was on my choice. I really wanted to play sports. And that's why you see a lot of Asians root for other Asians that are professional sports players, because you just don't see a lot of it, right? But that choice for me to play basketball, play baseball, again, to learn how to compete, right? And work as a team with others to hopefully win was another part of my life that is who I am today. And that's a sense of teamwork. That's a sense of greater belonging, but all of us had a role to do on a team, and we had to do it well, and hopefully the end result is winning. And I was exposed to winning both in piano early on, my first competition, 1980. Still got the trophy and the plaque of the 1980 Barrington music competition. I don't know, I won first place. And then baseball, my first baseball, coach pitch, Deerfield. I mean, my team, we won like the championship. And then basketball, same thing. So I've also been fortunate to be surrounded by great people, great teams, lucky too. And so that taste of winning early on in your age, individually as well as in the team, that couldn't have happened unless my parents, right, were open to exploring and doing more, right, and understanding my choices might be different than how they were brought up, but accepting it. And so, yeah, this has been great. Even though this is my first time, I've been very reflective over the last 5 years. And this is kind of
taking you back,
and a little more details, and this is pretty exciting.
Love it. Well, hopefully a patronage to your parents too, and you can show them some of these clips. I feel like they've basically fortified you and your personality and some of these characteristic traits, especially in the wake of AI, technology, innovation. So kudos to them, because these are all the right personality traits that hopefully continue carrying forward. You talk about this sort of pressure and the mindset of winning and the hard work and the work ethic. You end up starting your career in banking, and obviously you stay in banking for the rest of your career, and as we talk today. But your start was as a credit analyst. And so I kind of wonder, for you, why banking? Why make that decision at the time? Did you know you were going to stay there for the coming 25, 30 years and still be super happy and crushing it and doing well?
In college, or as Canadians like to say, university.
Yes, Henry, come on. There's a cross-border angle here, all right?
There's a cross-angle. But in college at University of Illinois, I wasn't a very good college student. I mean, I got into University of Illinois, which says a lot, which meant I had really good grades. And again, education is really important. But college was a time for me to really explore who I am, test a lot of different things, get in trouble. And I got in plenty of trouble, but own up to it and really define and feel comfortable who I am as a person as I got into the workforce. Let's remind each other, I graduated in the early 90s. We're coming off of a cyclical recession, and the job market wasn't very strong. And so kind of similar today, but with some differences, right? I mean, recent college grads have a high unemployment rate.
Facing struggle.
Yeah, it's tough.
Even from the best institutions.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And here, I checked out the stat. I actually used a Copilot this morning and that's what I got to learn is technology, right? And I said, hey, what was the unemployment rate for recent grads in the early 90s compared to what it is today? And yeah, it was at the peak, 5% unemployment for college grads in the early 90s. Today, 2025 grads is 5 to 5.7% today. And who knows if that's going to continue to get higher or stabilize or go down. But what the main difference was, when I graduated, it was still lower than the national average. The national average in the early 90s of unemployment was 7-something%. Today, the college grad unemployment is actually higher than the national average at 3 to 4%, right? And the other difference is that we were in a cyclical recession. We're not in a recession today. So it's interesting where those play out. But I say that to relate to everyone starts their careers or professional lives out of college and has a timeline. Well, my timeline was maybe similar to people at different people. It took me easily a year to find this role, this job. And second, I don't know what I really wanted to do. One thing that really influenced me growing up was the movie Wall Street.
Yeah.
Remember Charlie Sheen, right? Michael Douglas.
Oh yeah. Classic.
I think Daryl Hannah was on it as well. But, I don't even remember some of the lines. Greed is good or something like that. But that greed is good. Yeah, I wanted to make money. This is right. But I also wanted, and this is what my parents would always say to me, is the more you give, the more you receive. And so instead of holding it on, just like my parents, I wanted to share that with a lot of people, right? And as you probably growing up, right, and seeing your parents not only like give to others that are new to this country or family members that they sponsored to bring here, but they didn't forget where they came. They always gave back to home, to family, sent packages. Every time we go there, the Filipinos would bring what we call balikbayan boxes, these huge boxes, just packing them up with food and chocolates and
Vitamins,
clothes and vitamins, right? And cigarettes back then. There was like tons of cigarettes we had.
clothes.
Yeah. But you always, pay tribute and pay back those that helped you get you there, and especially your home. But I guess my whole point was I did want to make money. I did. And what was the easiest way to make money was take a look at something in Wall Street, right? And I did. I interviewed. I interviewed for a couple of positions at, Bear Stearns. Flew out there, had one of my toughest interviews out of college. Again, it took me a year to even get these opportunities to break down the doors outside of campus recruiting, as they call it today. But, you had to be tenacious. You had to find doors to open and try everything that you can. Not all of them panned out or worked out. So gone was, all right, they don't see me as being an investment banker. And I got a funny story. We could talk about that later in terms of one of the questions that threw me off. But I looked at being, hey, why don't I just be like a stockbroker, or which is today, I guess, what you call like a financial advisor or wealth manager and so forth. And then, talking to other people over that course of the year, they said, how about commercial banking? How about being a credit analyst? I'm going, I don't even know what that is. You're thinking about a bank, and at the time it was LaSalle Bank, which is now Bank of America. Today it was Bank of America bought LaSalle almost 18 years ago this October. But I thought banking was retail, right? Stepping in the branch and facilitating personal monies. I had little clue until I started interviewing for it what it actually was. And so I fell into a career that I really didn't know much about, other than it was pretty cool to be called a
banker,
a financial analyst, right? At a bank. But from that moment on, when I got accepted, and then I told you that my college years was more about exploration, and I wasn't a very good college student. I said, this is my opportunity to learn and reset and go all in. I never really looked to what was next after being a credit analyst. I really said, I'm going to try to be the best credit analyst there is, and especially in the class that I was in. And there was a bunch of us that started together, but do it the right way versus with sharp elbows, right? Again, bringing other people.
Being collaborative.
Yeah, and around you, but still, at the end of the day, delivering results. That's what all of us need to do in specific roles that all of us have throughout time, but you need to perform. And so performance was my gate towards the next opportunity. I was never really looking for the next opportunity myself unless my performance was already there and seen by others.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense.
No, 1,000%. I mean, I think that's such like really, really, really strong advice. And it holds true, honestly, for folks at any level, whether you're an executive, whether you're starting out as an analyst. It's basically like water your garden on your side of the fence first, before you look across the fence and say, wow, like that garden looks great and I can't wait to jump over and do that thing. And because you're going to jump over and you may lack a lot of the resources. I kind of felt some of that in my career. And the analogy I've always used, Henry, is I think sometimes, especially when you're younger and you're sort of ascending quickly, my analogy looking back at parts of my career is almost taking the elevator when I should have taken the stairs, because the stairs build really strong calf muscles, and strong calf muscles obviously allow you to stand up, and you're able to move and be more agile. So it kind of sustains the weight of some of the pressure and some of the responsibilities and the metrics so that you can perform at a higher level. But I feel like if you're just ascending very quickly and trying to get the next, I mean, it sounds great in the short term, but you're less equipped to then be the vice chair, 20 plus years later or 25 plus years later.
It's actually longer than that.
Longer.
I've become the oldest guy in the elevator
bringing down
at
the
the
years.
bank.
I got you, man.
But it goes back to my four F's, right? Family, faith, foundation, and the toughest part is forgiveness. It's that foundational piece,
Right,
that really, really matters. And that foundation means put in the work, be in it for the long term, be dedicated to what you do. Foundation is also making sure you're surrounded by great people, right? Not just a great program like the credit analyst training program that I did at LaSalle Bank, but great people around you within the organization, great people that support you from the top of the house. And so a 360 view of a great foundation of great people. And with that, you kind of build things together. So that foundation comes from, of course, the organization, right? The people, putting the work in. And over time, yeah, you'll be distracted because there are other opportunities that may out there. I've been fortunate to have two unicorns in my career. And I say that, one, it's not very common today for a person to only work at two organizations in their 33 years after college. LaSalle Bank for 13, 14 years, and then BMO for the last 18 years. But one, I knew I was in great institutions. BMO, I mean, look at where we are today. Yeah. Two, not only those great institutions, because they had great people. Three, also, and this is the unicorn, to be in institutions that were growing, that were not settling for being number 3, 4, 5, that wanted to be number 1 in everything that they do. And the fourth piece that is kind of unicorn A and B, I said growth as the overall organization, but unicorn B is be part of the organization, within the organization that contributed and was growing the fastest. And you go back to just lucking out and understanding what being a credit analyst was in the commercial bank. Both institutions, it's the commercial bank that was the powerhouse within the entire organization that made both organizations grow into where we are today. Both, especially BMO, the U.S. and in Canada, where today we are top 5 largest commercial banks in North America, right? And that foundation, right, that starts with great institution, great people, and great people you could also kind of lead into, which is really important, culture, right, is a great recipe to keep it going, but you got to be committed for not the short term, for the long term, which means that you got to believe in the people around you and where we're heading. And so that's what is really exciting, and that's the unicorn. And I can't believe that I've been so fortunate to have 2 unicorns, and I'm living my second unicorn for the last 18 years, and hopefully it's for the next, right, 5 to 10 to see what's next for BMO, especially in the U.S.
Yeah, well, it's you actually hit on a good point that I wanted to bring up, which is if you look at the median employee turnover, in the U.S., it is about 4 years. I think it's like 3.9 years as of 2024, 2025.
I didn't know that.
So people are basically staying in their roles for up to 3 to 4 years, right? Staying in one firm. I mean, I know this used to be the norm, especially, back in the days, but I think nowadays it's not as common, and whether it's Gen Z or this sort of younger generation, some millennials, they look at tech companies and they want it's always the new exciting and the new shiny company that offers the next best benefits and flip-flopping from one, to the next. And I'm speaking about this as a millennial. It's both interesting, honestly, and I think admirable to see someone who did stick with one org for 18 years. But to your point, it had to have a lot of the attributes that you're talking about. There was growth, but there's also room for you to grow, right? And there's different parts of the org that you could go to and that you can experience and you can learn within. And I feel like, I don't sense the word boring in anything you're talking about. Like there was always something new. And so when you're waking up in the morning, you're like, man, I can't believe I get to walk through these doors and get to tackle this day. And there's a bunch of new things that we're looking to do. Right.
Yeah, it was, and that's the exciting part of a growing organization. And you spread that in terms of the culture of what we believe in and what our DNA is.
Mm.
That is unlike, again, maybe it's not fair of me to say this, but I could only compare it versus my other organization, is that BMO kind of aligns to what my values are. And the values are to lift other people up, to help other people, to make people more successful, to make clients more successful, right? How do you get them from point A to point B? And it's our purpose that is, I think, really supercharged our organization. And we've had a purpose for now 8 years now, maybe going on 10. But it was really a rallying cry for all our people that understood what mattered and why we're doing what we're doing, no matter what role you were in the organization. And that purpose is growing the good in business and life. I don't know who's got a better purpose statement than that, right? I mean, it kind of matches, like, I want to grow the good, right? And going back to what my parents said, the more you give, the more you get, right? I want to make my clients better. I want to get the good in business. By making the good in business, that business and all their employees, right, are going to make a bigger impact in terms of not only economic, but hopefully generational change. Same thing with community, right? That's the life piece, right? Not only my personal life, but every organization that we touch, every community we touch, not-for-profit organization, community we touch in the markets that we serve, we want to make it better. So it's kind of like a circular thing where the more that we give, the more we invest, the more we develop internally, externally, the more that, it's just going to happen. The more that BMO is going to continue to be successful and grow in a meaningful environment. And I take Chicago as an example, right? I mean, Chicago has been around for a long time, long time, through Harris Bank. Little history there, right?
1980s, right? Is it?
Well, that's when BMO bought and acquired Harris Bank in 1984. But I'm gonna do the young person thing. I mean, I was in 8th grade in 1984.
I wasn't around, for the record. Just to be clear.
I just want to make sure I was in 8th grade in 1984. But in 84, I mean, Harris was a jewel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been around, the reputation. But when I came out to the workforce out of college and competing, again, it's about competition and competing, starting at LaSalle, we were a lot steeper trajectory than Harris. And when I joined 18 years ago, BMO Harris, 18 years ago was probably third, fourth in terms of market share when it came to commercial banking clients in the Chicagoland area. When I started LaSalle 30 plus years ago, we were 5th, but we rose to number 1 until we got acquired by Bank of America. Number 1 in terms of being headquartered right here in Chicago. Over the course of 18 years, about having that foundation, right? You could grow as fast as you want, but if you really want to grow for the long term, you got to be very diligent. You got to be committed to the space. You got to be committed to people over the long term. We went from 3rd, 4th to now number 1 in terms of being the largest bank headquartered in Chicago. And that takes time. A lot of people want to do it overnight, a lot of organizations. We've done it over the course of time. And you look at foundations. Foundations are made up of what we just talked about, right? People, right? Resources, but they're building blocks. And it's not one building block over another building block. It's multiple building blocks that form a foundation that you can build upon and grow at all levels of the organization. You could even look at that personally, right? And building that personal foundation to grow in a lot of different ways. And, we've proven it out that, we're committed to Chicago. We're not done in Chicago. And I said, we're in commercial banking. We got the train.
What's more Chicagoan than that?
I mean, look at Chicago. Chicago's the center of the country.
Exactly.
Lots of transportation, logistics, supply chain, right?
We bring you natural sound effects
This is
podcast.
this is why Chicago is one of the advantages of Chicago is because everything must roll through here
Yes.
in order to get to the rest of the country, right? And so, and that's really, really important. And the same thing with BMO, right? I mean, everything is somehow, if not primary, secondary, somehow BMO is connected in making Chicago community. But you got to have that growth mindset though, too, right? And I go back to competition. You got to compete. Not only does everyone have to perform in their own roles, but if you bring it all together, you got to know who to take it away from too. Who are the best, right? Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be yourself so that other organizations can follow? And I do hope in one regard that other organizations see that growing the good in business to life, right? They take it on as well. And so it's a multiplier effect of what we see that we could do, that business is good, right? If business is good, communities thrive, which means that people thrive and hopefully get better and better from generations to come.
So much of, and I appreciate you sharing that overview. And it kind of reminds me of, because you were talking about competition and being sort of fierce about it, and your love for getting to the number one spot, which I love. I love hearing about. And you're also talking about how important it is, like you can only do so much as Henry Munez. Ultimately, you need the whole machine to sort of row in the same direction, pointing to the sort of finish line that you're looking to race towards. Almost like a different sort of example is like the relay race, which I always love in business. You know, I can run only so fast, but as soon as I pass you the baton, I almost have to give you the full trust and acknowledgement that you're going to do your part and you're going to run as fast as possible so that the whole team wins. When you think back going from operator to executive, especially in your seat now, you know, as vice chair, you're looking across different business lines within BMO U.S., whether that's capital markets, commercial. I know we got, you know, on the personal and consumer side, you're seeing a bunch of different groups. You're thinking about the firm as a whole. You're thinking about the ship as a whole, not just you as a specific competitor, individual contributor. How do you make others in the org row in the same direction?
I mean, that's a great question. From what I was hired to do, right? Your job to perform in commercial banking. With the last role that I did was leading our specialty markets group, which was most of our industry groups, as well as asset-based lending across the country, running several P&Ls and really having authority, decision making, right? And really focusing on the 250 people that were in the business and influencing to get on the same page. What's different today from being an operator, as you said, running businesses to now being vice chair is I don't have a P&L, right? I don't get paid on how my businesses necessarily do. I get paid on how the U.S. does. And that is something that could be daunting because it's not particularly like this is what you need to do in your specific space. But everything that I've done, like going back to what my parents have exposed me to in terms of breadth of experiences and choices, I now have the opportunity to take those lessons learned, right? Those best practices that I had in commercial banking and share as well, also learn what the differences are among commercial banking, wealth management, personal business banking, and capital markets. And a stronger bank is just not commercial banking, it's making sure that wealth management, our financial centers, in terms of our distribution, and then capital markets are really humming at the same pace and levels as the commercial bank. And that's the opportunity, is for the bank to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And I do it in a way where it's a matter of influence, it's a matter of experience, it's a matter of know-how, less so than managing a P&L, right? And so that advisory approach that translated from advisory approach from a client to now being an advisor to all the businesses within the organization, it's great. It's like a perfect way to have my next step of what I was doing is how do you make impact without directly controlling it, but by using your influence to spur more results. And so everything that I do going back to competition is market share, market share, market share. And I want that same type of intensity and energy and thought in all areas of the bank. In order for that to happen, we just need to get better and better at everything that we do. And that means operational excellence. You kind of learned this. I don't know if a lot of people know this. We went to the same
MBA.
MBA program.
Yes, shout
Kellogg,
out to Kellogg Schulich.
Kellogg Schulich. That was
Executive
KS11.
KS11, KS22.
KS22. How do you find ways to operationally improve what you're doing today? If it takes you, let's say, 6 months to get some done, right? How do you cut that in half? How do you do it in 3 months? How do you continue to find ways to get better and better and better operationally? When it comes to revenue, and that's what I'm really, my job as vice chair is revenue growth across our major metropolitan markets across the U.S. Mine is California. I've got a counterpart, Hale Vazadi, that's vice chair of California. But use Chicago and then Milwaukee as an example to other U.S. metropolitan markets on how to grow. Because everyone's in their own different evolution geographically, but how do you share those learnings to other markets that want to grow the same way that you did the last 15 years, or 18 years? But how do you get it from 18, right, to 10, to 5, right? How do you continue to get better and cut that time frame each time? And you need people, you need great people, you need direction, you need strategy, but more importantly, right, you gotta be committed to it. And as I take a look at BMO in the U.S. since 1984, call it 84 to 2010, was kind of, they bought 26 years, here we are. Really from 2010 to 2025 was kind of that heavy growth. Instead of just being in Chicago, how do we take Chicago from where we are today, but be heavily more integrated, more out there to compete even in our own backyard, right? And so it was basically, what do we do in Chicago? That first period of 26 years to the last period of 15 years, I like to say we just entered our third era of BMO in the U.S., where instead of 10 years of where we want to go, we got to do it in 5. So again, going back to the whole executive MBA thing, right? You just have a better foundation to do it, first of all.
Right. That gave you another pillar, basically.
Gave you other building blocks. And then you've got experience and you got people. And then it's just, you could make those successes happen, right? Quicker than what it was before in the past. And that's what I'm excited to see in the next 5 years of where we are, because there's a lot more room for success and growth for everyone at the organization.
I don't know if I told you, I'm a big basketball fan. And this kind of reminds me of a little bit of, I don't know if there's LeBron James fans watching this or not. I'm assuming there are many.
I'm a Michael Jordan fan. Go Chicago.
I'm going to have to use the LBJ example here, but it kind of reminds me, yesterday they're playing against the Houston Rockets, against Kevin Durant. He scores 28 points. He's basically like top of the leaderboard on the box score as a 41-year-old. And the connection point to your story about, yes, you've sort of risen through the ranks. There was a lot of growth. You're number one in commercial banking. You're number one largest bank headquartered in Chicago, but you still have sights on continuing to reach a new, peak. It's like the new pinnacle, right? You've reached the mountaintop of chapter 1 and 2 and 3, and you want to kind of replicate that. How do you, in your seat now, and having been as vice chair and you've held all these different roles, what do you see as the future of banking? And that could be general, it could be for BMO. Especially when you see all the financial technology and the disruption around, like, what is that viewpoint? It doesn't have to be super prescriptive, but just curious from a high level. Yeah, I guess the general outlook for banking for the next 5, 10, 30.
Hey, I think technology is going to be a critical piece for any organization to be relevant and more meaningful in an ever so changing economic landscape, business, personal, whatever, right? I have high hopes And I'm leaning very strong. The more and more I see technology kind of blend into banking.
Mm-hmm.
And the important piece, and this is where I've been saying this just over the last few months, is I think banking is going to have its renaissance, which has gone through the ringer, right? I mean, ever since the Great Recession and recovering it, all the compliance stuff that we had to do, the regulations, it hasn't been easy in these last 10 to 15 years. But we're in a point where you have all this technology. How do you make it personal, right? How do you make it human? How do you make it simple? And I think where we are right now and into the future is that if you could use technology, but in banking, deliver it simply with a human touch, that's the recipe to win. And it hasn't really changed. You look back upon all these years in terms of 30 plus years in banking, I think banking has become a lot more complex based on the last 15 years, and we need to make it more simple again. I think it has become more simple because of technology, but what makes it continue to happen is the human connection. And if I take a look at the role that I sit in and where I involve and talk to clients every day, talk to our people every day, one thing that needs to get better at is that human piece. We've kind of, I think, have forgotten, well, maybe not forgotten, maybe it's not as important as it once was, but I think that human piece is going to be a lot more forefront than ever before. And because of that human piece, that banking piece is going to be even more important as we help navigate and advise people, businesses, to the next stage of where they wanted to go. So don't forget about the power of the human touch. And that's what I'm here for, is that human piece. The next piece to it is where I sit is, too, is communication. We need to do a better job, no matter in banking or wherever, communicating in different forms. I'm learning this, for example,
You're doing a great job.
podcast, right? This is my first podcast, right? And this is fun, right? But everyone's got to test each other out in their own abilities and feel uncomfortable and communicating in different channels. But at the end of the day, it's communicating, and no matter what you do, right?
Storytelling in different formats.
Yeah, storytelling, right? Getting other people on board, that buy-in. But yeah, that storytelling is so very important.
Seeing different sides of you.
Yeah, to inspire and to empower, right? I actually bought these shoes from Japan in 2019. I don't have them
They
on.
look great. Oh,
Yeah, no, these are not it, but I wish I was looking for them. They're not. I have them. They're Adidas, and in the characters of the language, it was one foot was inspire, the other foot was empower.
nice.
And how do you inspire and empower, right, people? And going back to banking, going back to my vice chair, yeah, my main goal is market share and revenue growth, right? But I could only do that if we could inspire and empower our people to understand, believe what they're doing is the right thing for our clients, our people, and our communities. And that's my greatest strength, is the ability to communicate those type of principles of inspiring, empowering, then sharing best practices, and then, of course, compete to win.
Yeah.
That's the journey
I
that
can see
everyone
the
talks
sparkle
about.
in your eye every time you say that.
Yeah, and if I could just believe in yourself, that self-confidence piece, and that self-confidence piece helped in school. It helped at University of Illinois. That's when I explored myself, and it actually helped a lot. If I learned the most out of Kellogg Schulich, was that confidence piece, that what I'm doing and the traits that I'm doing are transferable. Those are skill sets that it's just not just banking to grow and succeed and lead. Those are transferable skill sets that could apply to anything else. And that confidence that was instilled in Kellogg Schulich, right, was kind of, all right, that's my next go time. Right, graduated in 2000 and KS11, 12, 13, yeah. Right? I was already 5 years in. at BMO, right? I'm going, okay, let's take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Everything I've got
A
there,
little bit of a boost, yeah.
it's a boost. How do we take it to the next level? The learnings, the confidence,
The relationships.
over the next 5, 10 years. And these are all like, you got the foundation, but then you got these building blocks that are not side by side, but also interconnected in a way that makes it really exciting. It's that journey, maybe not being that number one pick, right? How do I get to number one? And that's what I want to, that's what I'm passionate about, no matter if it's business, no matter whatever. I want to get other people to that same spot, but also enjoy the ride. I've enjoyed every part of the ride, and I still think the road is still I still got a long road ahead of me,
God willing,
as well as BMO. It's got some great journeys ahead of itself.
I sure hope so. And of course, like you being on the podcast like this is part of that sharing, right? I do want to end on this note, and as someone who absolutely loves and is super passionate about building relationships, I do it for a living. I've done it for a living my entire career. I know that's something not only that you care about so much, but you're basically the quote unquote chief connector at BMO, in addition to the many important titles. What would you say are some lessons learned? You talk about the wake of AI and digitization, but you also talk and touched on the human element. So I'm curious, looking back, some lessons learned that you can instill in others that are watching this, that are hoping to, like you, build a really important network of genuine relationships, and continue sort of fostering that human element, even as things become much more tech heavy and hyper connected and scalable. And
Right.
What would you pass on?
Thank you for asking me this question. I actually have shared this with people internally at BMO. That was part of a panel at BMO in terms of professional development, how to get to the next step. And the question was asked to me, you're known for your ability to build relationships, grow 'em, be impactful. How do you make it so simple? It takes work, right? And so officially, since it's a podcast, I don't know how many people are going to be watching this. Hopefully it's an all-time high. I'm very competitive.
Yes.
All right.
We'll get it there.
Hopefully we'll get a lot of people to view. I'm going to write a book on this.
Please.
And relationship building is because I personally care. You got to be yourself, right? And CARE is an acronym. CARE is connect, accept, relate, and then the E is a verb, no matter where you are in that relationship journey. And connect genuinely, right? That's that whole human piece. I know we've got LinkedIn that makes it easy to connect with you. Hey, I'd like to connect with you. That's not connecting genuinely. That's just going broadly, which is very important, right? But then you got to find depth to it. And that's that genuine piece where you got to take each relationship very meaningfully. And then how that fits, right, into them overall as a person, myself, and so forth, where you are. Toughest part is accepting the people on the person on the other side. You might have different views, right? But you need to accept authentically, which means that the other person that you're talking to, that you're trying to build the relationships, you hear them, you listen to them. Listening is very important, and we haven't said that at all. But you got to listen. Everyone needs to listen in the relationship as opposed to being the one that talks all the time. And there's a balance there. And if it's one-sided in terms of listening and talking, then you got to figure that out. But the A is to accept that person for who they are today and what they might be or might not change. But it's accepting authentically. R is, I've been very fortunate, again, to be different, to embrace who I am and being different in a lot of different ways, which means that I'm able to relate with a lot of different people. I don't stay in my own lane. I've always stretched myself to meet different people, not always in banking, right? Not always in the community, all over, And so it's really important for any relationship if you could relate, right? And bring that past experiences, same likes, and so forth, because it helps that acceptance piece on the other end because it's mutual. understand that, oh gosh, relatable. They've had experience. We're firstborn English. We went to Kellogg Schulich, right? Together, 11 years apart, right? How do you relate meaningfully? And then E is every relationship goes through an evolution. And so, yeah, you got to engage in it. Sometimes you got to energize it. Sometimes you got to educate. And then whatever E words you want to use kind of helps you define and where that journey is, the relationship. But, there's some tough parts where you got to exit relationships too. So it's kind of that whole start of where you're at. You got to focus those action pieces are on the E side, but it's care, connect, accept, relate, and then where you are with the E verb is important. So something as simple as
I like that. I don't think I've
care,
ever. Yeah.
right?
I might keep that in mind.
But you got to personally care
Yeah.
in order to make every relationship just as meaningful as the other person across the table, the other businesses across the table. And yeah, I mean, I think it's something that is a great start.
Yes.
It's kind of been natural for me. Natural because I've worked on it for a long time.
Right.
In the beginnings I've had
Takes
to
work.
interact with a lot of different people. And then relationships are important, not if you take out because you personally care for them, but if you somehow find a way to connect them. If you keep relationships by itself and standalone and don't find ways to connect them together.
Yeah, connecting the dots is important.
Right.
I have a good friend who calls it the power of and, sort of the compounding effect.
Yeah. And that is a gift to not only break out of your own lane, but build relationships and connect those relationships together. That will only benefit everyone if they could find a way to do it sooner than later.
Well, love that. Congrats on your first podcast.
Thanks. This is a lot of fun.
It's a pleasure having you on, Henry.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you very much for all that you've done. I'm trying to make sure, the logo's facing properly. But I really appreciate you being on the podcast. I know a lot of people will find this extremely helpful, useful, valuable, and more importantly, sort of an inside look into who you are as a person if they don't know you. I do want to give you your props, kudos on all that you've done. And more importantly, now that we know each other, I want to sort of cheerlead on the side and see you continue reaching new heights and new number ones, not only in your career, but in your life as well.